Hello everyone. In the last some classes we have studied resource management and the different types of equipment used in the construction site and to calculate the ownership cost of the different equipment and repair and maintenance cost of the equipment. Today in this class we move further for another important topic related to the materials which are using in the site. It is actually called termed as material management, and it is the management system for planning and controlling all efforts necessary to ensure that the correct quality and quantity of materials are specified in a timely manner, obtained at a reasonable cost, and available at the point of use when required. So it is also defined as the function responsible for the coordination of planning, sourcing, purchasing, moving, storing, and controlling materials in an optimum manner so as a pre-decided service can be provided at a minimum cost. So for a construction site, a right quality and right quantity of material has to be available at right time at a very economical cost. So that is the idea of material management, and its aim is to get the right quality and quantity of supplies at the right time, at the right place for the right cost. So what are the objectives and functions of material management? It has two objectives. One is primary and another one secondary objectives. Let us begin with the primary objectives. That is efficient materials planning. You can do it, and buying or purchasing of the materials, and procuring and receiving the materials, storing and inventory control, supply and distribution of materials, and quality assurance. These are all the primary objectives, whereas secondary objectives relates like this: efficient production scheduling to take, make, or buy decisions, prepare specifications and standardization of materials to assist in product design and development, forecasting demand and quality of materials requirement, quality control of materials purchased, material handling, use of value analysis and value engineering, developing skills of workers in material management, and smooth flow of materials in and out of the organizations. So why actually the material management is important? So if you go for managing the materials, then it lowers prices for material and equipment, and it fasters the inventory turnover. It reduces lead time, and continuity of supply will be there, and reduce the transportation cost since you will bring the materials whenever it is required, and less duplication of efforts, and elimination of bulk passing, reduces the material obsolescence, and improved supplier relationship, and better records and information, and better interdepartment cooperation and personal development. So if I go for material management, what are all the advantages I get as a construction company? What are the advantages the company will get if a material management system is applied? So the better accountability part of the material as well as other departments, and no one can blame others. And as materials management by a single authority, which can lead to better coordination because it became the central point of any substance related to problems. So material management department to ensure a better quality materials. This can lead to a better performance of the organization. A materials management system is usually controlled through a system, therefore can help decision making related to the material in the organization. And an indirect use of material management is the development of good quality material, ethical and moral standards in an organization. And maximum company profit and improvement of credibility also can be done, and improved customer service if you provide material management system, and also enhancement of communication and improved quality of staff. So what are the different material management functions? So first one is material planning. The site planning engineer is responsible for this function. In order to have proper control on material purchase, it is a good idea to have some specific engineer approving the material requisition. The site planning engineer makes a purchase requisition in consultation with the construction manager, following which the materials is produced by administrative people. procured by administrative people. Materials planning involves identifying materials, estimating quantities, defining specifications, forecasting requirements, and locating right resources from procurement. So this is the first and foremost function of the material management system. That is nothing but materials planning. For a particular project, which are all the materials I require, and that is identifying the materials. Once it is identified, what is the quantity I require? For that quantity, I have to go for estimating the quantities. Once it is done, then defining the specifications. That is nothing but defining the quality standards required for the construction. Next, forecasting requirements, in the sense we have to forecast that material for how many times or for how many days I need that material, in which quantity I need that materials. We have to go for it, and locating right resources for procurement. So that is the first function. Second one, go for procurement. Before procurement, the site planning engineer along with the materials engineer material engineers survey the local market and identify the items that are to be procured locally, and those that are to be procured from the head office under centralized procurement system. So always materials can be procured in two ways. Either we have to go for local survey, that is which are all the materials available in local conditions, in the sense which are the materials are procured locally, and which are the materials we have to hire from other companies or hire from other outsources. So this is nothing but your procurement. And third function is custody, that is receiving, warehousing, and issuing. That is another very important function. The main documents have to be used while you are receive, while you stock it, and while you issue the same material into the construction site. The documents involves like inward register, material receipt note, delivery challan, indent, dispatch covering note, outward register, repair register, plant and machinery movement register. These are the documents you have to maintain. Next function is materials accounting. The main purpose of material account is monitoring inflow and consumption of raw materials. So how much quantity of materials is there in the stock, and how much quantity of material is just supplied to the site. That is nothing but the material accounting. Material accounting involves material stock accounting, monthly stock tracking of selected materials, and material wastage analysis. Next comes the function called transportation. Construction materials used at the project sites undergo considerable movement right from their point of origin to the storage point to the actual point of consumption. So from some outsource, it comes to your stockyard. From the stockyard, it comes to the site. In general, raw materials procurement is within the scope of material management team. Proper care should be taken while planning for transportation of materials so as to avoid the effect of performance of the materials. When some, for example, when you are transporting like granite stones for the flooring purpose, right? So transportation, during the transportation, we should be very careful enough so that the each a single piece of granite should not be what you call should not be affected. It should not be breaked. It should not be broken. So transportation is also one of the functions. Next comes inventory monitoring and control. Inventory is nothing but it's a usable but idle resource. If the resource is some physical and tangible object like materials, then it is generally termed as stock. It is very important to have a check on the inventory level. Inventory is nothing but the stocking details of the material. Next, materials codification. This is another function. When you have large, huge mega projects, the materials in use are thousands together. So it is very difficult to identify the material. So codification of materials for their easy identification is very important. It's an important function in material management, especially for construction companies where thousands of different items are used all along the project duration. There are different systems for codification like numeric. They will numerically the materials are identified, or alphanumerically the materials are identified, or color codification also. can be done for the material identification. Next, computerization. So usage of computers during the material management. That is, computers are being used increasingly in the application of construction material management to forecast the different materials, to plan the different materials, to develop the specifications of materials, to purchase procedures for materials, to prepare a comparative statement, and finalizing the supplier and to inventory control. For these purposes, computerization is very, very important in the material management. Next, source development. Source development is a continuous activity. As a policy, for every major item, more than one source should be identified. That is nothing but I want to get some sources. If I am getting cement from one source, I have to focus on some other companies which also supplies the cement. So not only I am not only focusing on the only one um, vendor, I want to go for many vendors, so that if one vendor stops the supply of the material, so I can go for some other vendors. So always for a major item, more than one source should be identified. The vendor's performance should be evaluated regularly, and only satisfactory vendors should be encouraged. Next one is disposal. So for every year, old and used items that are not economical to use have to be disposed of in the planned way. For this, the quantity and quality of the material to be disposed should be assessed. First, it has to be tested. The reusable items we can further reuse it. Reusable items from the scrap can be retained from the further uses. For the further uses, the remaining materials may be disposed of either by selling it to some scrap dealer or through the process of floating inquiry, collecting quotation, and awarding to the highest bidder. Next, another important management, that is inventory management, management of the stock which is present in your stockyard. So how to maintain that? That is your inventory management. It is nothing but is a simply stock of a physical assets having some economic value, which can be either in the form of material, money, or labor. Inventory is also known as an idle resource as long as it is not utilized. It is the technique of maintaining stock items at desired levels. In other words, inventory control is the means by which material of the correct quality and quantity is made available as and when it is required with due regard to economy in the storage costs, ordering costs, setup costs, manufacturing costs, purchase price, and working capital. So why it is needed in the construction industry? Out of the total cost of the construction project, around 50 to 75% of the cost is associated with the materials which are used. Therefore, an effective control over the material cost is required for reducing the overall cost of the construction. Periodical inventory of the tools, equipment, and materials should be taken up in every site to know the exact position and condition of the materials, tools, and plants. So its main advantages are any excess material not presently required can be shifted to other sites for use. And order may be done based on quantity of old stock present. So based on the quantity of old stock, how much quantity I have in the stock, based on that I can order some other materials. Any shortage or damage of the material can be brought to the notice of the upper authorities in advance. So repairs and modification to storing system can be done if required, and percentage of wastages of materials can be identified. Purchasing of materials in stages as per work program can be followed. So objectives of inventory control are to maintain the overall investment in inventory at the lowest level, consistent with the operating requirement, to supply the product, raw material, sub-assembly, semi-finished goods, etc., and to provide materials to its users as per their requirement at right time and right price, to keep inactive, waste, surplus, scrap, and obsolete item at the minimum levels, to minimize holding, replacement, and shortage costs of inventories and maximize the efficiency in production and distribution, and to reduce the risk inherent in treating inventory as an investment which is risky. For sometimes investment may lead to higher returns and for other less returns. So what are the factors actually affecting the inventory? Those are not but the costs. Like first one is purchase price or production cost. That is, the cost of item is the money paid to the supplier for the item received or the direct manufacturing cost if produced. It is normally equal to purchase price. When the market prices go on fluctuating, planning for inventory is based on the average price, mostly taken as a fixed price. The price factor is of special interest when price discounts can be secured or when large production runs may result in a decrease in production cost. Second one is selling price. In some inventory situations, the demand may be affected by the quantity stocked. In such cases, the inventory model is based on a profit maximization criteria, which includes the revenue from selling the commodity. The unit selling price may be constant or variable depending upon whether quantity discount is allowed or not. Third one is procurement cost. That is, these costs are those incurred on a purchase or incurred as setup costs related with the initial preparation of a production system if manufactured. These costs vary directly with the each purchase order placed or with the setup made and are usually assumed independent of the quantity order or produced. Procurement costs include cost of administration, transportation of items ordered, and expecting from follow up, next receiving and inspection of the goods, processing payments, etc. Next one is carrying or holding costs. These costs associated with carrying of stocks of items is called holding costs or storage costs or possession costs. It includes handling cost, maintenance cost, wages, insurance, safety measures, warehouse rent, depreciation, theft, obsolescence, interest on the money locked up, etc. Next, cost of operating the information processing system. That is, as stock level change, someone must update records either by hand or by computer. Where the inventory levels are not recorded daily, this operating cost is incurred in the obtaining accurate physical counts of the inventories. Such operating costs are more fixed than variable over a wide quantity range. Next comes shortage or stock out costs. These are penalty costs incurred as a result of running out of stock when the commodity is needed. Next is demand. The demand pattern of a commodity may be either deterministic or probabilistic. In the deterministic scale, it is assumed that the quantities needed over the subsequent periods of time are known with certainty, whereas in probabilistic demands occur when requirements over a certain period of time are not known with the certainty. Next, ordering cycle. Ordering cycle may be defined as the time period between two successive placement of orders. This time calculation may be carried out in following two ways. First one is continuous review, that is, where a record of inventory level is updated continuously until a certain lower limit is reached, at which point a new order is placed. Either it is continuously review or it is periodic review, that is where orders are placed usually at equal spaced intervals of time. Ordering cycles are nothing but when to order a material. So it may be either of a continuous review or maybe of periodic review. In continuous review, records of the inventory level is updated continuously and certain lower limit is reached. When it reaches to the certain lower limit, when the stock is found to be at lower limits, then you go for ordering it. Whereas a periodical review, you will fix some equal time gap and you will order. Next, delivery lag or lead time. It is when the need of the material is felt and an order is placed, it may be delivered instantaneously or it requires some time before delivery is affected. The time between the placement of the requisition of for an item and its receipt for actual use is called a delivery lag or lead time. It's just like you order something in Amazon and it requires some time to receive. So at the time of order you may not get. It requires some 2 to 3 days. So that is nothing but your delivery log or lag or lead time. In general, lead time has 4 components: administrative lead time, suppliers lead time, transportation lead time, and inspection lead time. So administrative lead time and suppliers lead time are fixed times, whereas the transportation lead time and inspection lead times may vary. Thank you.